I'll just give you a quick thumbs up then, Linda. We're good to go.
Sounds good. We're good to go?
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the November meeting of the Township of Woolwich Committee of Adjustment. This meeting is being held electronically due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Precautions and measures are in place regarding social distancing to ensure the health and safety for those in attendance at the municipal office. I will remind the committee and the public that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the township's YouTube channel. Anyone who registered to participate in this meeting will be invited to speak in the order of the applications being heard this evening. I'll do a roll call of the committee for the benefit of those watching the meeting. When I call your name, please wave at the camera or say here or present. I, Linda Dixon, I'm present and chairing this meeting. Committee members, Jim Beerley.
Here and present.
Tim Cronin.
I'm here.
Hans Potkamer.
Present.
And Charles Ziegler. I don't see Charles yet.
He is just loading up his computer, Linda. He'll be a minute.
Okay. And Charles will be joining us just momentarily.
Thank you.
We have staff with us today as well. David Gundrum, our planner. And
Present.
Nancy Thompson, our recording secretary.
Present.
And Nancy, I understand our new director would like to say a few words. So
Yes, Deanne, I'm not sure. Oh, there, she does have video on her phone.
Yeah.
Deanne will connect
Yes.
there.
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Deanne Freese. I'm the new Director of Development Services, and I'll just be sitting in on the meeting today. I probably won't say a lot. I'll leave it to Nancy and Dave. Thank you.
thank you, Deanne. Welcome. Welcome. Happy to have you joining us today. Hi, Charles.
Hello.
There's Charles. Charles has joined us. Would you just wave for everybody, Charles, so that they know you're a committee member? Thank you. All right, so we'll get on to the formalities of the meeting. The following are the procedures for the meeting today. Each application will be read by our recording secretary, Nancy. Nancy will ask each applicant to make a brief presentation not to exceed 10 minutes. The committee will be given an opportunity to question the applicant, and any person who has registered with the recording secretary and wishes to address an application either for or against will then be given the opportunity to speak. Please make sure you have turned on your microphone and video and identify yourself clearly for the recording secretary. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the committee will make a decision on the application. Once discussion on your application is complete, please mute your microphone and turn off your video. You, however, are free to leave the meeting at this time or remain and listen to the balance of the applications. I'm advising all applicants that each application has a 20-day appeal period as required under the Planning Act, and the last day of appeal for applications heard today is December 8th, 2021. Going to ask the committee at this time if they are declaring a pecuniary conflict of interest with any applications today.
No, I'm not.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, not seeing any. All right, very good. So, Nancy, yes, can you read the first application for us, please?
Thanks, Linda. First application this evening is for minor variance application A22-2021 for Wesley and Eileen Martin for the property located at 3175 Northfield Drive East. The property is zoned agricultural with site-specific provisions in section 26.1.189, and the property contains a detached dwelling, 2 livestock barns, storage barn, calf hutches, cidery, and a woodworking shop / office as an on-farm diversified business. The applicant is requesting relief from the site-specific regulations in section 26.1.189 and on-farm diversified use regulations in section 6.22 as follows. Section 26.1.189I to increase the maximum ground floor area for the woodworking shop from 167 square meters to no more than 2% of the lot coverage of the property, and in conformity with the on-farm diversified use regulations in section 6.22. Section 26.1.189(2) to permit employees for the cidery and woodworking shop in conformity with the on-farm diversified use regulations in section 6.22. versus the current site-specific limit of 1 full-time off-site employee. Section 26.1.1893 to permit outdoor storage on the property in conformity with the on-farm diversified use regulations in section 6.22. Section 6.22.3I to recognize the height of the existing dust collector at 12.5 meters, whereas 7.3 meters is permitted, and section 6.22.32 to recognize the existing flat roof on the dust collector, whereas a peaked roof is required for structures associated with an on-farm diversified use. Additionally, the applicant is requesting relief from section 6.13.4 to reduce the required parking associated with the cidery and woodworking shop from 10 to 3 parking spaces, including an accessible parking space. Hugh or Amanda, I'm not sure which one of you is speaking to this application, if you'd like to join the meeting.
Thank you, Nancy. I'll be joining as well. Amanda Stellings is on the line, and I believe also Wesley is joining us by phone.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of committee, staff, and those in attendance virtually. My name is Hugh Handy, and I'm a land use planner and senior associate with GSP Group, and we're here on behalf of Wesley and Eileen Martin this afternoon regarding their property. Ms. Thompson has indicated the nature of our application, and we've reviewed the report in association and discussed that with our client. We're happy to see the report before you this evening in relation to the operation. The operation is obviously an agricultural operation, but also has a woodworking shop that has some permissions currently in terms of size, and also recognizing a seasonal cidery that's on the property. As mentioned, we're happy with the report that's before you this evening and the analysis that's gone on within that, and also time spent with township staff. We are thankful for that. The two things that, as going through the application, were in relation to the aspect that was not in support, and that was based on parking. This is an old order Mennonite operation, and obviously that's not what we're requesting a variance for, so that has to be balanced in terms of zoning. We have had some discussions further today with Mr. Gundrum related to the parking on the property, and also discuss that with our client. And we would propose to amend our application if that was amenable. And obviously you have your staff member here to 5 spaces. We believe that that may be a balance, or striking a balance between, obviously we want to ensure at peak times, which may be if the cidery is happening seasonally, if someone is at the shop that it would be coming there, that we believe we could accommodate 5 spaces on the site. And obviously that is being introduced today. So we look forward to any kind of comments from either the committee or staff in that respect. Secondly, we've reviewed the cosmetic appearance of the more recently added dust collector. We are also prepared to work with township staff to ensure the outward appearance of that. Obviously, there's a height variance that we've requested, and therefore it is visible from the road if any of the committee members have had a chance to drive by. So we are sensitive to that, as well as the agricultural urban design. I'm more used to dealing with urban design in urban areas, but also appreciate that we don't want something to look out of place on a farm. So we're prepared to entertain different aspects. I think our first preference would be to look at painting the tower on there, the dust collector, and we would work with staff through the site plan process to ensure that color blended with the agricultural nature of the property. So in that respect, I guess those are the 2 comments that I really wanted to key in on for the committee. And as said, Amanda and Wesley are both here to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Handy, for your presentation. Appreciated. Committee members, do you have any questions of the applicant's agent, Mr. Handy, or the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Charles?
I'm just curious why we can't fit the 8 parking spots on the property. Is there a reason for that as per the zoning bylaw?
Through you, Madam Chair. It is a property of a size that we probably could accommodate. I guess what we don't want to do is necessarily take up the yard that's related to the, obviously the agricultural operation. In this respect, there's a long laneway that comes in. I think what we're looking for is to dedicate these spaces if there is something that would be there. So I think it's probably a balance through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member.
Okay, Charles?
Thank you.
Any other members of the committee?
Madam Chair,
Hans, yes?
I also
Go
have a
ahead.
question to the applicant. I am equally concerned about parking because the approval is a long-term approval. And while you may not need more than 3 or 4 or 5 parking spots today to operate, that situation may change. And you're already asking for less parking than the municipality feels is appropriate for this type of operation. And if we were to agree to this reduction, what would be your workaround if you need more parking in the future?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member. I'm not sure I understand in terms of if we were to allow for 5 parking spaces instead of 8, in terms of if we needed more in the future. Mr. Potcamper?
How would you accommodate that? Is my question.
Well, there is I guess there's a laneway down the side of the, I think it would have to either, in my opinion, go at the back of the shop, down in the yard itself, or along the laneway as you're coming in. I think that would still leave room along the laneway. And if there is a peak time, obviously the importance of having off-street parking is to make sure the use is kept on the property as opposed to on the regional road. And so in my opinion, there would be opportunity to have other parking beyond what is designated.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yep, sorry, Tim. Yep, go ahead.
I just see one little discrepancy here, and I see in the application that I read it was 10 parking spaces, and then later on it's reducing from 8 parking spaces. Was the original 10 private owned, or is it typo, or what's the difference between 8 and 10? And maybe David could answer that for us.
David, can you address that?
Yeah, thanks, Member Cronin. Through the chair, we did catch a discrepancy based on the floor area and use information that was provided through to us. So when we did a recalculation, we landed on 8 spaces being required, not the 10 as previously communicated in the application. So that was a correction. It shows up in our report, but our report has the true number of 8 required spaces.
Thank you. Any other questions? The committee? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Nancy, have we got any members of the public wanting to speak to this application?
No, Linda, not to this application. The applicant is here. I'm not sure if he wants to say a few words in addition to what Mr. Handy said.
Yeah, I would open, Madam Chair, not to, but I would ask if Wesley wanted to add anything specifically to the parking question. Wesley, if you wanted to add anything to that or anything else.
I don't know if we'll try to work with whatever has to be done.
Sorry, Linda, I have one more
Yeah.
question.
No,
Again,
that's fine.
sorry about the parking. I'm just curious, Mr. Handy, how did you come up with the 5? Is it just, was it to meet in between, or was it the area you had to work with would fit 5 and not 6, or how did that 5 come up?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member, we had, it's not an area calculation or where we could fit the spots. It was to address the type of use on the site. We didn't feel that the full 8 would be warranted, even in the long run. So I think the importance of it is to sort of have that balance in a rural situation on the property. Again, it's not that we want to interfere, most importantly, with the agricultural operation and sort of spread parking around. I think it was a balance, if I can add it that way.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I apologize. Doorbell just rang. My dog's going crazy upstairs, so hopefully it won't last too long. Any other comments from the committee members? Questions, comments? Okay, I do have a question. So through your presentation, Mr. Handy, you indicated that you had spoken with our planner and had talked about the this number of spaces increasing. So I'm going to ask David, just from your perspective, based on your report, the question now to amend to the 5 instead of 3, looking for your feedback on that amended amount versus what was in the application and your report.
Thank you, Chair Dixon. So just to address that, I mean, we premised our recommendation on the fact that there'd be a more severe reduction. I think given the seasonal nature of a portion of the on-farm diversified use certainly provides some mitigation to what the requirement would otherwise require. And I believe, you know, this could be a happy compromise that would still achieve the aims, the intent and purpose of the official plan parking requirements, noting that a portion of the use is very seasonal in nature in that respect. However, I will still note for committee that staff did conclude that the dimensions layout of the site, physical space available wouldn't preclude the applicants from otherwise providing 8 spots in a physical sense, but whether 8 would inherently be required at all times during the year, I think that there's certainly a question there given the seasonal nature of a portion of the use.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, David. Okay. So Nancy, if we're looking at an amendment here, we can just do that through the motion, correct?
Correct, Linda. I think you'd just be looking to amend that last portion of the recommendation put forward by staff.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are you prepared to address the application?
Sure, Linda.
Tim?
I will try to go this. So to make it simple, I'll just include that proposed amendment as part of the whole amendment and make it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just make it number 5 and change the number to 5 on that. Is that okay with you, Nancy? I got to pause that. Okay, that's
Sorry, yes, Tim, that's fine.
okay. That's good. Okay, I move that minor variance application A22-2021 concerning the property as part lot 57, Woolwich Tract, part 7. Municipal address 3175 Northfield Drive East, requesting the following relief from section 26.1.189 and 6.22.3 of the zoning bylaw be approved, including sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and make it 5. And the last one, 5, relief from section 6.13.4 to require a total of 5 parking spaces for the on-farm diversified uses, woodworking shop, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a total of 8.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Second.
Hans is seconding that, Nancy.
Got it.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Okay, that is carried. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your,
Madam Chair, committee members. Thank you.
okay, so on to the next one. So Nancy, I think I'll have you, I understand that this is the one we have a deferral request on. Am I correct on that? We'll have you
Yes,
review the.
Yes, I'll
have you
read
review
through.
it?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
read through the application, and then the applicant did submit a deferral request this afternoon, and Mr. Handy can address that momentarily. Thank you. The next application is minor variance application A23/2021 for Lester and Viola Shantz for the property at 1942 Lobsinger Line. The property is zoned agricultural and contains a detached dwelling, livestock barn, drive shed, and cabinetry shop. The applicant is requesting relief from section 6.1.8.a of the Home Business Tradespersons Regulations to permit the continued operation of a cabinetry shop on the 0.74 hectare agricultural property. Specifically, the following variances are required. Section 6.18.a IV to permit a maximum of 2 full-time employees, whereas the current regulations do not permit employees other than the owner operator of the business. Section 6.18 AVI to increase the maximum ground floor area for a home business tradesperson use, the cabinetry shop, in an accessory building to the residence from 100 square meters to 260 square meters. And section 6.18 AIX to permit a maximum 30 square meters floor area for a retail showroom, whereas the current regulations do not permit any retail sales. Additionally, the applicant is requesting relief from section 6.13.4 to reduce the required parking for the cabinetry shop from 6 to 3 parking spaces, including an accessible parking space. Mr. Handy, if you'd like to address the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Again, members of committee, Madam Chair and staff. Again, we received this application, and obviously we're in a little different position on this application in terms of the denial that's as part of the staff report. We had the opportunity to have a brief discussion today with Mr. Gundrum, and would like the opportunity to see if there was anything we could do as part of the application. Lester Shantz and his father-in-law, Isaac Weber, are on the line if there's any questions, but we'd like the opportunity to go back and review our application as a whole with staff. Obviously, the woodworking shop has been here for some time, recognizing that it's an illegal use. And then before that, there was a carriage workshop, part of the old order Mennonite community. We'd like, again, the opportunity, without going into great detail, to see if there's anything we could do in terms of changes to the application, changes to the nature of the business that might be able to see our way forward on this, and therefore requesting the deferral.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Handy. So I think before we go any further, committee, how would you like to deal with, we'll need, I think, a motion for the deferral and a time frame. So I'm wondering, committee, what's your thoughts on this?
For you, Linda, I wonder if Mr. Handy would have an idea of what time they'd be looking at for deferral.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member. We've put in our deferral a 6-month deferral. We put that in there not because we believe it will take 6 months, but I'm always cognizant of the fact it takes the discussion may take longer, and I don't want to. I want to make sure there's adequate time to have that dialogue and to get back to the committee. If there's no way to solve it, then I think we'll be back sooner. But I think there may be hopefully opportunity that we can revisit the application. So that's my long-winded answer to a short question. Sorry.
And I see that in your letter, that time frame. I apologize.
No problem.
So do we just make a motion for deferral for this?
Yes, if it's the committee's wish that someone would like to make a motion to defer the application, and then I think using in the motion also the time frame.
And Madam Chair,
clear. Yes.
sorry to interrupt. I don't know whether Lester or Isaac would like to speak, but I just while you're not in committee yet.
Would they like to speak to the deferral request? 'Cause
Well,
that's what's
yeah.
before us.
Yes, if you wanted them to indicate
Sure,
anything at
Sure, if
this
they'd
time.
like to,
Okay. Lester,
ahead.
Isaac, do you have anything
you.
you want to say at the time?
This is Isaac here. Can you hear me?
yes, we can. Go ahead.
Sure. Yes. In response to Hugh's saying that we asked for a deferral, because of the nature of the business, and the business was denied, the application was denied, the business would have to shut down. It would be a major upheaval for the family livelihood, and so we need to have a little more time to see if we can work out that would be more acceptable, so that we can hopefully work it through. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Through you, Linda, I'll make a motion if we're ready.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion that minor variance application A23 2021 for Lester and Viola Shantz concerning the property as part of lot 21, municipally addressed at 1942 Lobsinger Line, be deferred for up to 6 months.
I'll
Thank you,
second that.
Charles. Hans is seconding that. Okay. All in favor of the deferral motion? That is carried. Okay, so
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
members of committee. Thank you.
thanks. All right. Okay, so Nancy, next application,
said
May
def-
24.
Perfect. Minor variance application A24 2021 is for Alicia Pelesny for the property at 742 Country Squire Road. The property is zoned agricultural and is currently vacant land proposed for construction of a dwelling and detached garage. The applicant is proposing to construct a single detached dwelling and an accessory building, detached garage on the vacant 8.6 hectare property located at 742 Country Squire Road. To proceed with this development, the applicant is requesting relief from section 7.5 of the agricultural zone to recognize the existing lot frontage of approximately 24 meters, whereas 30 meters is required. In addition to the above, the applicant is requesting relief from the following. Section 6.4.4 to increase the maximum allowable size for an accessory building on an agriculturally zoned property from 112 square meters to approximately 138 square meters for the proposed detached garage. And section 6.4.2C to increase the maximum height for an accessory building from 4.5 meters to approximately 5.8 meters for the proposed detached garage. And Larry Pelesny is here to speak to the application.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Mr. Pelesny, if you'd like to go ahead. I don't know if he can hear us.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
There we go. I think we're good. Oh,
Yeah. Just takes a minute sometimes. Larry, you just have to unmute yourself still.
Is that better?
That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah, okay, thanks. We bought the property on Country Squires and we're proposing to build a house for my family and a detached garage. And at the time when we designed the house and got it engineered in the plans, we didn't realize that the 30 meter was a requirement. And then talking with David, he explained the process. So that's why we went for the minor variance on the frontage of the property. And then the detached garage, we designed to complement the house. We did lower the pitch roof. A house is 10-12 pitch and the garage is 8-12. I wasn't aware of the size of the requirements until David and I talked about the 112 square meters. So when we designed it, we just designed a sort of a square box, 3-car garage to complement the house. And that's why we're asking for a minor variance on those 3 topics.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, mute.
No, you don't have to mute just yet.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I'm going to ask the committee if they want to have any questions of
Sure.
of you. So committee members, do you have any questions of the applicant? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so thank you. We'll just, oh,
Sorry,
Charles, go
Linda.
ahead.
I just
No,
kind of have
no.
one. I guess you got the report back that it's about 20 square meters over. Is there an issue with bringing that down?
I just think for
comply.
the size of the house, and the garage will be set back about a little over 700 feet from the road. And then when we plant trees, it won't be noticeable and there's no impact on my neighbors. I have no neighbors beside me that would even see the garage. So from 700 feet back, I don't think it's an impact from anybody really. And that's what we just designed as a sort of a 3-car box garage. I think as the plans are, I think they're attached. Are they not, Nancy? I think so. Yeah. So Charles, that's why, like, we didn't design it. We just designed it for that purpose.
Any other members of the committee, any questions? Hans?
Madam Chair,
Yep.
question to the applicant. This is, you're building a new house with an attached garage. And plus you're building this detached garage. That's rather large. What are you into collecting vehicles or what is
Yeah,
your use?
I have, sorry, Hans, I have classic cars that I don't store outside. So they'd be inside all the time, and that's why I have it. So I don't drive them very often. They're one was my dad's when he was a kid. So I got some older vehicles that we don't drive on a regular basis.
Thank you.
So through you, Linda.
Charles, go ahead. No, go ahead, Charles.
Quick question for David. The kind of general purpose of this is it for a streetscape that there's that requirement on the size?
Through Madam Chair, Charles, that's part of the intent there, but it's also to ensure that the detached structures remain secondary subordinate to the principal residential use, that they don't become of a scale where they compromise the secondary nature. And also in the rural areas, so that these detached structures, they do remain residential moving forward, and they're not potentially large enough that they could be converted to other non-residential use. So that's kind of the holistic rationale around that 112 square meter limit for the agricultural zone, that they remain secondary subordinate and scaled and of a size that they remain residential in nature into the future.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions of the applicant, committee members? Tim?
I have a question more for David than the applicant. I noticed in the plan here, he's indicated a future storage shed conceptual location. So what opportunities in the future would this law provide to build additional structures?
Through Madam Chair, Member Cronin, so there's certainly additional opportunity for detached agriculturally related structures. The 112 square meter area limit is only with regard to residentially related structures. So on the concept plan, you would have noted a proposal for a drive shed, like a farm equipment storage shed would certainly be allowable. And in the agricultural zone, there's a 20% lot coverage limit. So that's really the area limit that would kick in for any farm related accessory structures. So they could conceivably be quite large, but they'd have to maintain that agricultural use to fall under that larger limit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this application, Nancy, in attendance?
No, not for this application, Linda. Thank you.
Good. All right, so thank you. So committee members, how would you like to address this application? Jim, I see your hand up?
I'd like to make a motion that application, minor variance application A24-2021 for Larry Valenci concerning the subject property part of Lot 1 GCT addressed to 742 Squire Road, requesting the following relief from section 7.5 6.42C of the zoning bylaw be approved.
I have a seconder. Oh, Nancy, go ahead. I see your.
Linda, just for clarification, there's a second part to that recommendation, Jim. Were you also going with that second part, number 3?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
And also make a motion that proposed variance section 6.4.4 zoning bylaw requesting following relief for the subject property be denied. Is that what we're after?
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. So you're including that with your original motion, correct, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Hans?
I'll second.
Okay. I should have asked before, are there any further discussions on that motion before we proceed with the question? Okay, I'm not seeing any. All those in favor of the motion? And I see all, that is carried. Okay, so Larry, the motion as put forward by Mr. Beerley has passed by the committee. So part of that was approved, part was not approved. And I just remind you, as I forgot to do earlier, for the first application, that the last day of appeal for your application is December 8th, 2021. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All righty.
Okay, the last application this evening is for consent application B13/2021 for Marlboro Holdings Limited for the property located at 50 Martins Lane in Elmira. The property is zoned general industrial dry M1 with site-specific provisions in section 26.1.350 and contains the biogas plant and electrical energy storage facility. The applicant is requesting permission to sever an irregular shaped 2.0 hectare parcel of land from the south side of 50 Martins Lane and convey it as a lot addition to the rear of the adjacent lands located at 43 Arthur Street North /35 Martins Lane, being Elmira Pet Products Limited. The proposed severed lands are zoned M1. The proposed retained lands at 50 Martins Lane will be approximately 6.25 hectares in area and contain the biogas plant and electrical energy storage facility. And Douglas Stewart is here as the consultant, as well as Dennis Martin, the applicant. And then we do have an additional party for this application as well. Douglas, if you'd like to make your presentation to the committee.
Thank you. I appreciate that chance. My name is Douglas Stewart. I'm with the IPPI Group. I'm a professional planner. What my presentation will focus on is a few aspects. We have submitted a fairly detailed report that undertook a detailed evaluation of the what was the township official plan as it relates to this request. What I would ask of the committee is to step back and look at the request. This is an area that has an industrial land use designation. In the zoning bylaw, it is zoned M1. Both the severed and the retained parcel and the parcel which the land is being conveyed to all share the same perspective from the official plan, from the zoning bylaw. What has occurred is the owners have looked at their parcels of land and have made a decision that they wish to do a land assembly to the one parcel, and the other parcel is to convey that. It is a lot addition. A lot addition is not resultant in development. It provides an opportunity in the future through other steps, other processes. I ask that you look at the plan, the official plan, and look at it in detail, because it says, prior to consideration of the development of the area for industrial uses, the following shall apply, and identifies 2 studies. It is my professional opinion that a lot addition to facilitate a land exchange, whether it be 1 foot, 2 feet, whatever, isn't resultant in development. I've gone through the process and first looked at and said a plan of subdivision isn't required, which is the first test. The next tests relate to conformity, and it's my opinion that a lot addition is not development. The official plan does define development, and it certainly does not conform to what's being proposed here. It applies to a different thing. I would agree, should new structure, new extension of streets, parking areas, and buildings and whatever is development, and when that occurs, by all means, the official plan would apply. The township, which we've met several times, has pointed out that in their opinion, it is development, and I do not agree with that interpretation. The township has advised that there is going to be a study for the Elmira bypass, which is referenced in the official plan. Today, I spoke to the regional staff member, Mr. Marcus Coker, who confirmed that they are going to be doing the engineering for the bypass. He advised me they're at the stage of doing terms of reference, which will then go to consultant selection, sending it out as a request for proposal. And then when they're returned, there'll be an evaluation and a decision of regional council to advance the study. He informed me that as of today, there are no options related to how the bypass will be proposed. That's the purpose of the study. He agreed with me that by the time they do terms of reference, send it out for proposals, determine the consultant, select them. The consultant does the background studies and then engages with public consultation through the review of potential options. Won't be till the end of 22. That's just that stage. There's more consultation and then the final EA sometime completed in 2023. Within the package, we received the township comments. There is a sketch provided by the township called Concept 2, which outlines an option for the bypass. It's certainly done to detail. It certainly gives what could be, upon first review, the bypass location, which just touches some of the areas under consideration tonight. What I want to remind the committee, that sketch, Concept 2, which was provided in the township's comments, are not the class environmental assessment being undertaken by regional staff. My comments to conclude are, the request for a lot addition doesn't result in development being proposed at this time. Sure, it's a development application under the Planning Act. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't result in any development occurring on that parcel until other steps are taken. The boundary adjustment won't prejudice the bypass when it reaches that stage through the regional review. Whether it's one owner or two, in my mind, is not important. This application does not prejudice the completion of the class environmental assessment by regional staff. The sketch provided by township staff has no status. It is our request, you as a committee support the local businesses that are trying to amalgamate parcels so that they can plan their future businesses. And when they proceed with development, meaning proposed buildings, proposed street accesses, parking areas, and whatever, that policy will apply and will affect the ultimate development of the property. The region will continue to proceed with their study. It's my conclusion that the consent is in conformity to the official plan. It is my opinion that the consent will not prejudice the completion of the class environmental assessment. It's my opinion the sketch provided by the township, which is good information, isn't the result of the appropriate technical studies at the time. This is a land assembly, and that's all it is. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stewart, for that. Appreciate it. Committee members, questions? Do we have anyone else on the line, Nancy, for this application beside applicant-wise?
Yes, you have the applicant, the owner of the property, Dennis Martin, as well as Will McKee from McKee Technologies.
Okay. I didn't, just checking, any comments from Mr. McKee or Mr. Martin before we proceed to questions from the committee?
No comments at this time.
Okay. All right. Committee, any questions of the applicants or their agent? Tim, you look like you're thinking about something.
I got questions. I just don't know right now. I probably have some more questions of David at this time, but maybe the applicant after I hear from David, if that's all right.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else for the applicant, agent? Okay, so I do have one question. So I understand your comments and I appreciate the rationale that it's a lot line adjustment. We're not creating a new lot. Does not mean that development is going to occur. However, I'm just curious of the timing for your land swap, land assembly, that there's maybe something in the planning down the road and wondering how that might play into the questions of the future bypass and transportation needs for the area.
If I may respond to your question, and I will ask that Mr. Martin also speak. The request today for the land assembly is being made because they've reached a consensus on the land exchange. That's my understanding. The timing of development, I can't speak to. I'm not involved in that. So I would turn that to Mr. Martin to see if he has any response.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Martin, anything further?
I can add a little clarity to it. The folks or the owners at Elmira Pet Products had approached me asking for approximately 5 acres. Really, it just allows them to do the planning that they'd like to do for any future growth of the plant. If they don't have that land, then they have to start searching elsewhere because it is a lengthy process to accumulate and get a site of their scale. So it was an opportune time for them, and it made sense to us to try and allow that to happen. Any other questions?
Nope. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay. Committee members, any other questions of the applicant or Mr. Martin? Mr. McKee? Okay, Tim, you had some questions of David?
Yes, through you, Linda, a couple of points that they were making in his comments here. And one I noticed in no particular order, but one suggests here that there's a chance at some point to be getting road widenings or acquiring land for new roads. How does that affect us? Because nothing's being asked for. So the comment on acquiring property, how does that affect this application?
Through Madam Chair, Member Cronin. So conceivably, should this consent be approved, then we would go future site plan down the road. Through the site plan process, we can ask for road widenings. We can't ask for new roads to be created. That would be possibly as a condition of consent or through the plan of subdivision process. I mean, staff, we certainly had concerns and they're expressed in our report, but just to reiterate that there are some known unknowns here, and the unknown is what effect approval of a severance at this location could have upon interconnections, and a very important northern interconnection with a future bypass that would serve in part as a truck bypass to serve these type of industrial areas. So if you look at the wider area, there are limited connections in the northern stretch through Elmira on an east-west course that could connect with the future corridor for the bypass. And the official plan does contain policy that requests that a transportation study be provided. We haven't been provided with a transportation study to ascertain what impact, if any, this proposal may have. So that is, I guess, the known unknown at this point, which has made us very cautious to recommend otherwise from what's before you in our report this evening. So I hope, does that answer your question? Maybe further on, Member Cronin?
That's through you, Linda. That's answered part of it. And if I heard the consultant's plan there, it would be hard for them to do a transportation study, means there's no proposed plan of where the transportation would go at this point in time. So I'm seeing a bit of being ahead of the game, trying to ask for a transportation study when you got nothing to study. Am I misreading that someplace? Like we've got no real proposed route yet.
Through Madam Chair, Member Cronin, that is true that we don't know precisely where this corridor will land, but we do know that there's some potential opportunity for Martin's Lane to function as a possible connection to that corridor, which generally we understand will run somewhere to the east of these lands. We don't know again precisely where, but again, we've deemed the application to be premature in that context, in the context of that wider future project, as well as the policies of the official plan at this point. So.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, just to follow that through. So it's premature for this, but there's nothing premature about the road either. I'm having trouble marrying the two processes after where I seem we're asking for something that we don't do. Going back to the roads, if in the future it is set up as a road, the process would be for an expropriation procedure to get the lands you would need at that point in time, if you couldn't buy them, and that would be available whether doesn't matter which property owner is owning this property. If you needed to create a road, you would expropriate the road from either property owner A or property owner B at that time. Is that correct?
Through Madam Chair, Member Cronin, that is correct. That's one possible avenue that could be exercised, possibly an avenue of last resort if another mechanism can't be utilized. So, yeah.
Okay, and then one other comment. If we should approve this consent, what I'm sure there should be some other requirements that we would want to write into an approval of this. I'm sure there's some other plan processes. Do you have something available that would guide us if we do decide to approve this of how township could see this? What steps or what conditions will we put on an approval?
Through the chair, I'll maybe defer to our Secretary Treasurer. We have prepared an alternate resolution that would have suggested conditions of approval should the committee decide to go that route. And we have that prepared, and Secretary Treasurer, I believe you have a copy of that.
I do, David. I'm just.
We have to be cognizant that any conditions that go in can be completed in that year timeframe.
Okay, so I shared my screen. Can the committee see now a Word document titled Alternate Resolution B13 2021?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay, so this is what David has put together then. If you want to just peruse that, and if you have any questions, ask David.
If I may remind the staff and the chair, we have not seen what's outlined here.
If I may, through the chair, to address Mr. Stewart's concerns, these are standard conditions of consent that would normally apply to a proposed lot addition. There isn't anything here that is inherently site specific. These are pretty well boilerplate conditions for a proposed lot addition in the township.
Again, I had not seen, and I do not disagree with staff that they appear to address what would be required with the application being supported.
Madam Chair, just.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Tim.
Just as a thought, because of that, would there be any support for a motion of deferral so we could consider this, that they could have time to do it? And at the same point, I'm still hung up on this official policy and the requirement of where development goes. I understand we've got to follow the policies, and the policy states we do this with that in mind. And I been hung up on this, when is the development occurred and whether this has to be the development that triggers these studies or whether the next development is. So I'm really hung up on that. So I'm just wondering if there's any thought of a deferral for 3 to 6 months, just to get a mindset around how this would affect things here. And part of it also is that the region, if they're doing the study and they didn't flag it as a concern, there was no comments from the region. They saw nothing on this. So, and if they're doing the study, that also weighing on my mind. So that's why I'm wondering if there's a deferral would be of any benefit for all parties.
If I may speak to that.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Stewart. Sorry. Yes,
Sure.
go ahead.
That's good. So first and foremost, I have reviewed these, and I find them acceptable. I do not find a deferral acceptable because I don't believe any of the information is going to change. As I outlined, the process for the regional study is going to take at least till the end of 23, potentially into 24. If I can answer the one question that was brought up, and if I can just take you through the steps. And I want to remind you that my opinion is this is not development, and thus the studies are not required. Should the consent be approved and the boundary change occurs as outlined in these terms of the approval, what will unfold is the following. The owner that receives the parcel can do their business planning. The person who's conveyed it can continue to do their business planning for the parcels they own. Should they decide to advance development, i.e. expand their operation with new buildings, streets, whatever it may be, this policy would kick in. The official plan policy would kick in. What's going to occur is the class environmental assessment for the bypass will proceed. A decision on development won't occur should it prejudice any option being considered. What the regional study is going to do is look at a variety of options about, and let's be fair, the first option is do nothing, which more likely won't occur because there certainly is an intent to provide a bypass around Elmira. They'll look at a variety of options. They'll do an evaluation of those options. They will identify a preferred option. They will consult on that, and then a decision will be made on what the option is, and then they can plan accordingly. There will be consultation. The owners, both of them that would be here, and the township and any other resident will participate in that consultation. So we are not prejudicing the alignment at all. And in fact, once the alignment is determined, then planning decisions as contemplated by the policy will protect for that alignment, and whether it affects this parcel or doesn't affect this parcel is undetermined at this time. So that just like elsewhere along the proposed bypass, there will be opportunity for consultation as in here, and there will be a land assembly required, just like here and anywhere else there is. The good news is, by conveying this as a lot addition, and should the owner of that proceed, they can ensure that that alignment's protected and can be conveyed. That's the reason you should be dealing with this tonight, because this is the opportunity and it doesn't hinder or affect. And I thought the comment that the region who comments on these applications had no concern is important.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Madam Chair, may I speak?
Jeremy, yes, please.
Thank you. Just to bring back to the comments, the official plan speaks clearly that under severances, that consideration for a decision on a severance take into account the policies of this plan relating to protection of trunk and primary roads, which a bypass would be. So that's one of the policies that has to be met, which we are still questioning hasn't been met because we don't know exactly where it's going to be. And we agree the EA has to be completed, the EA has to be done. And what we provided at the moment is an example of how it might impact, and therefore why we say there is a potential concern here. And staff hasn't agreed that there is not a need for a plan of subdivision in this area. Actually, we have historically told the owner, Dennis Martin, that for any further developments, a plan of subdivision would be required because we were looking at the extension of Martin's Lane and how this bypass would work together. So we made that very clear in the lands to the north, and we did them address them with the McKee zone. So there's a number of things here that still are not being met and we have concerns with. We disagree that the lot adjustment is not development because it is recreating a lot. It is changing the boundaries of a lot. It is resulting in development. The Planning Act calls a consent development. So we still disagree with that comment. So I just want to make it clear, there is still policies out there that have to be addressed and we don't think have been met at this point in time. That's why staff is recommending that we can't support it. We understand also if it was supported, what Mr. Stewart is suggesting here is that the future landowner has to deal with the repercussions. Basically, if they come in and say long-term plan, which he's referring to, their long-term planning can proceed, that wouldn't happen because we basically freezing the property to say we don't know the answer if you can develop these lands. So we're almost giving these people a severance to presuppose they can do something, but they can't because we're going to freeze it saying you can't do anything till an EA is done and we know the implications and we know how it's going to develop up there. So I think this is putting the cart before the horse. We need some time and it's been a policy. We understand it's been in there for a while and that's a concern. Well, we're trying to work through and wait for the EA from the region, but I think it's putting the cart before the horse to say, sever the lands and then let site plan try and address it where it can't really address this and it's just going to freeze the parcels further. Right now, we are going to deal with one major landowner versus adding another one to the mix. So it makes more sense right now to leave things as they are, address the official plan policies as we've identified them, and proceed potentially through a plan of subdivision more so, or trying to address how we're going to address this future road allowance, which we have met with them about. So we would suggest still recommending denial of the application at this time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for that additional, those additional comments in addition to the road question around the plan of subdivision. Committee, questions of applicants or questions? Tim, sorry.
Well, one more question, just picking up on Jeremy's words there. You said the policy states of a road that it has to take if there is a road. Is that what it is? Like, I apologize because I'm not up on policy on it, but I'm hanging off on words here now. Is that the policy states if there is a road, we have to address it, but there is no road to address. Is I guess my concern on this, and like I don't want to. We have to follow the policy. It is passed by council, and policies are important, and they have weight. But you said the policy, and maybe I'm missing that, but you said if there is a road, then we have to take into account. And that's my question. There is no road, so there's nothing to take into account. Is that what I'm reading?
No, what I'm referring to is not that there is a road. It says that consideration has been given to the policies of plan relating to protection of trunk and primary roads, the protection of them for them to be put into place. So that's a policy in the official plan to say we have to protect for them. And we have another policy for that northeast industrial area saying that we don't want to see any development take place until this traffic impact study has been completed to address the future bypass. So those tests have to be met for something to proceed. And that's where we're saying those severance policies haven't been met because they have to protect for them and they're not identifying that they have protected for them. And that's our concern. We don't know what the result is. It's premature. So they haven't addressed this. And we think there's a potential, as we've shown you, a potential impact that is not being protected at this time.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if I could speak.
Just a second, Mr. Stewart. Are there any other questions of the committee members to Mr. Stewart, the applicants, to Jeremy or David?
I have a question.
Yep, Hans. Yep.
It's directed at staff more than anything. Is it feasible from a legal perspective and from a municipal rules perspective for us to approve the land transfer, but require that the applicant, the purchaser, not to use that land for anything until detailed approval is given by the township? Seems to me there are two issues here. One is an actual land transfer, and the other is the future use of this land. And the possible impact of a road and so on. But could we theoretically approve as a municipality, the transfer of the land from one party to the other, but ensure that nothing is done on that land, including parking or any kind of activity on that land other than bare maintenance?
My comment to that, Hans, is we could probably put a condition requesting some kind of zoning, which then takes it back and puts it in council's hands. I've seen it done before.
Okay.
Yes, through you, Madam
Jeremy?
Chair, through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. You could put a provision in on the approval that they undergo a zoning amendment, put a holding provision on the lands to prevent any development until such time as the bypass route has been determined and the impacts addressed.
Thanks, Jeremy. I think we would just do zoning satisfactory to the township and let you sort it out what that needs to be.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Does that help, Hans?
Thank you.
Okay. Committee members, any other questions, comments? Okay, Mr. Stewart, if you could just please, in interest of time, I understand you want to just do a bit of a rebuttal. Brief would be
Yes.
great, please, and thank you.
Again, I will do it as quick as I can, but it's important. Firstly, I want you to look and say whether the land assembly would prejudice a future decision for an alignment of a street. And what I conclude is it will not prejudice a future alignment of that street should it go through the right processes, which it will, of the EA. My second comment is you don't need to put another condition other than the ones that are identified here, because the current plan would prohibit the current policy framework. Should they propose development, which means building structures, any change, the current policy would provide sufficient protection to provide the means of when that would occur after the alignment has been determined, or they conduct a study that does that. So in fairness, you do not have to impose another condition requiring a holding or a bylaw change. The current plan already provides that sufficient protection, because my opinion is a land assembly, a lot addition, doesn't require that to occur, and it doesn't prejudice the future alignment, and therefore there's no other requirements that you would have to impose.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, committee, because I haven't got everybody on my screen. One last call. Anyone? Questions? Tim, Jim, Hans, Charles? Okay, how would the committee like to proceed? Do I have someone like to make a motion? Throw it out there and we'll get a seconder and we'll discuss it. Charles?
Sure, Linda. I'm going to make a motion that consent application B13 2021 for IBI Group on behalf of Marlboro Capital Limited be denied as per staff concerns.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Hans?
Yeah.
Okay. Committee, any discussion on the motion? Further discussion? Jim, okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So all in favor of the motion as presented by Charles? 1, 2. Opposed? Okay. So that motion is carried. And just for the benefit of the applicant, yes, there was Hans and Charles put the motion forward. Tim and Jim opposed it, and I voted in favor of the motion, just to clarify that. Okay, so just a reminder that there is that appeal period, which ends on December 8th, 2021. Okay, thank you all for your time, appreciate it. So that's the applications, correct, Nancy? That's what I have on my list.
Yes, correct, Linda. That's all the
Okay.
applications for this evening.
So we have the minutes from October 18th, 2021.
Mhm.
Any comments on the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Hans, do I have a seconder?
Well-
Jim? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so that ends the business portion of the meeting. I don't, but I talked to Nancy and she had sent out the list of meeting dates for 2022. So I thought I would just take a couple of minutes, if we may, and is there any questions or comments or concerns with any of those dates while we're here, and whether we support moving forward with those dates? Tim?
My only conflict so far is March 22nd. I will be away that week, either the week before or after would work, but I won't be attending March 22nd if you go with those dates. Other than that, I can work with everything else that's there.
Okay, thanks.
Just to note for that, the week prior to March 22nd would be March break for the school year. That's kind of why I avoided that one. But if that's not a concern for any of the committee members, there would certainly be flexibility to move to the 15th of March then.
I don't have any concern with that.
No concerns with that,
No
Nancy?
concern.
Okay, we could look at that as a change.
Okay.
Just so we don't have an issue moving forward, potentially with quorum when we get to March. And I did have 2 dates then for February and April, and maybe I'll adjust those then according, since we've moved the March meeting up, to stick with the earlier meeting in February. And let me just see, and then go with the 12th of April. So go February 15th and April 12th.
July 12th may be a question for me. It's not, we're planning something, but it's not in stone yet, but good chance I won't be around for the July meeting, potentially.
Okay. In July, as we all know, sometimes July, August tends to be maybe slower with no applications coming in. I mean, I did kind of look at the 19th of July as well, but I don't know if we want to just leave that one at the 12th for now. What's the other committee members feeling as far as holiday time in July? Tim, I know you always are away in July, but is that avoiding your normal vacation time?
12th is better for me than later, but I'll work around whatever we need to do.
I'm very open to.
Very open.
Okay. Okay, why don't I work back the dates then for,
It may be a longer time frame for July, Nancy, so going
So
1
we
week
might-
before,
okay.
1 week after may
it's
not
not going to make a difference? Okay, then let's stick with the 12th for now. And obviously we can reevaluate, maybe in April as needed, depending on what we've got coming in for applications. And go from there. So do you want me to bring back a revised calendar for the December meeting to adopt? It's still in timing, to get for the January applications out, or do you want to just go as with the revision of March 22nd to the 15th, and then choosing the February 15th and the April 12th dates? I can bring a nice clean one back for you for the next meeting.
I've got it. We can make that. I'll make that a motion that we go with the dates as you proposed, with February 15th March, I forgot the date, was that the 12th?
March would be the 15th, so
15th,
February
March
15th, March
And
15th, April
and
12th.
12th.
Seconder, sorry.
I'll
Hans,
buy.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
all in favor?
I have a question, Nancy.
Oh, Jim, go
Has it
ahead,
been
sorry.
decided that we're gonna have virtual meetings in the 2022 year, or
Can I just-
still in Zoom?
Sorry for a second. So Jim, are you in favor of the meeting dates as put forward then, as amended? Thank you. Okay,
Perfect.
that's carried. Well, fire away.
Thanks. Yeah, Jim, I haven't heard anything formal at this point. We will wait direction essentially through the clerk's department when council and committee are looking to move, whether they go to full in-person or go to a hybrid meeting. Then we would look at what our opportunities are for this particular committee. I think they are looking to entertain both, both options. But at this point, there has been no decision made to do anything but the virtual meetings at this time.